You look out at the garden burning under the July sun and realize all the work you put into sowing seeds back in spring has fallen apart. Having to depend on seed varieties that only last a short season is a mistake that costs you money and gives you no real security for the future. A lot of people do not think about this, plant those perennial crops about 3 years ahead of time, and later on you will have food without having to work so hard sowing seeds every season. That is also how we Amish still look at the garden. We do not plant by trends. We choose plants whose tops die back in winter, but whose roots stay alive so they can come back on their own the next year. You only need to dig a trench a handspan deep for asparagus or bury a few sunchoke tubers, half a handspan deep in a fixed corner of the garden where the soil does not get disturbed every season. In this video, I will show you a system of 10 perennial plants that can help the garden feed you across many seasons, starting with the plant that gives early spring greens and going all the way to plants that give tubers, fruit nuts, and seasoning. Pay close attention to plant number 1, the kind of onion that multiplies itself all over the garden without needing you to care for it. After that, I will help you improve your skill at choosing plants that fit your soil and your kitchen, so you always plant in the right place from the very beginning. Watch until the end of the video, and then you may be able to have a garden that keeps feeding your family forever. Plant at once, a handy tip or a food system. Before I name the 10 plants you can plant once and eat for years, I want to make one thing clear, because it decides whether you are building a long-lasting food source or just planting one more thing to take care of a living a long time does not automatically make a plant good food for your family. A lot of gardeners hear about perennial plants and right away think life will be easier. No need to sow again every spring. No need to keep buying seeds. No need to start from zero. I understand that an annual garden can wear you out. One season ends and the bed is empty. The next season comes and you till the soil again, sow again, and wait for the weather to be kind to you. But perennial plants do not do all the work for you. If you plant annual vegetables in the wrong place, you usually only lose one season. If you put a perennial plant in the wrong spot, it can take over a bed, creep into the walkway, come back where you do not want it, or give you too much fruit right when you do not know how to store it. Then even good food becomes waste. The second thing, and this is something I was taught when I was young, do not choose a perennial plant just because it hangs on for a long time. My father never asked first, how long can this plant live? He asked, what job does it do for our home? Does it give us something edible when the garden is still empty? Can we dig it little by little, cut it little by little, cook it into sauce, make it into jam, dry it, or put it down in the root cellar? Do not worry about having to remember everything right away either. This is not a trick for memorizing plant names. It is a way to ask the right questions before you put a plant in the ground. I will walk you through them one plant at a time, starting with the most obvious thing, what it can actually put on the table. Number 10, asparagus. Early season asparagus. Asparagus is the first name on the list. A lot of people think asparagus is a fancy vegetable, hard to grow, and not right for a self-sufficient garden. But if you put it in the right place, it is actually one of the perennial plants you will have to redo the least. I do not plant asparagus in the main vegetable bed. I put it in a fixed sunny bed, somewhere that will not be dug up every season later on. If you start with crowns, meaning root clusters for planting, dig a trench about 15 to 20 centimeters deep, Set the crowns about 30 to 45 centimeters apart. Cover them lightly with soil at first, then fill in more as the plants grow up. The hardest part is not planting, it is holding back from harvesting. In the first year, it is best to let the plant feed its roots. In the second year, you should only take a very light harvest. Once the bed is strong, you can harvest the spears in early spring when they are about a handspan tall, then stop after a few weeks so the plant can grow stems and leaves. My father did not cut all that leafy growth down too early. He let it stand like little ferny bushes, because that green growth was sending strength down to the roots for the next season. Asparagus will not give you a filling meal the way potatoes do, but it gives you fresh vegetables when many beds are still empty. The next plant is different. Out in the garden it does not look like much, but once you bring it into the kitchen, you understand why people in the old days kept it around. Number 9. Rhubarb, the tart stalk plant for the kitchen and pantry. In my kitchen, rhubarb always gets handled before anyone talks about a dish. Martha lays the bundle of stalks on the table, sets the leaves aside, and only then washes and cuts the stalks. That needs to be made clear right away. With rhubarb, you only eat the stalks. The leaves are not used as vegetables, especially in a home with small children or pets around the garden. Rhubarb works well for families in cold areas because it handles the cold well, lives a long time, and once it is established, it can give you stalks steadily each season. The tart stalks are not something you eat raw to fill yourself up, but in the kitchen they are very useful. Cook them into sauce for pancakes, bake them into pies, make jam, make dessert, or chop them up and put them in the freezer. To grow rhubarb, start with a divided root section from a healthy plant. Plant it in early spring, in a spot with sun or light shade and soil that drains well. Give each clump plenty of room, because once it grows, the leaves will spread out very wide. When you harvest, grab the stalk close to the base, give it a gentle twist, and pull it out. Do not take too much at one time. Leave enough leaves for the plant to feed the crown. After a few years, when the rhubarb clump has grown large and crowded at the base, you can dig it up in early spring, split it into a few strong pieces, and plant them again. That is how one old clump in the garden can become several new clumps for the family. Now, let us leave the kitchen table and move on to a plant that gives you tubers underground. It gives more food, but it also needs you to decide its boundaries right from the start. Number 8. Sunchoke, underground tubers for a filling meal. If you have ever grown potatoes, you know that job is not exactly light work. You have to plant again, hill the rows, watch for the right time to dig, and then start over the next season. Sunchoke also gives you tubers underground, but the difference is that it can come back for years from the tubers left behind in the soil. So with sunchoke, I do not ask first, how do I keep it alive? I ask, where do I let it live so it does not take over other beds? This is a plant I would put at the edge of the garden, along a fence, or in its own area with clear boundaries. I do not put it in the middle of the main vegetable beds. Planting it is pretty simple. In early spring, take seed tubers and bury them about 10 to 15 centimeters deep, spaced around 30 centimeters apart. Choose a sunny spot with soil that drains decently. The plant can grow tall, so do not place it in front of shorter plants that need sun. At the end of the season, when the stems and leaves start dying back, you dig up the tubers. The tubers can be roasted, stir-fried, cooked into soup, or stewed with meat. If you want the plant to come back, leave a few small tubers behind. But remember, those same few small tubers can also make it spread. One more thing, eat a little at first. Sunchoke can make you feel bloated if you eat a lot the first time. At this point, I want to close out the first group for a moment. Let me brush a little dirt off my hands, and then we will move into a new group, plants that do not fill a basket, but even a little bit can make a meal feel completely different. While we are there, if you find this list helpful, please hit subscribe for my channel. The first root in this group is so sharp that you will not need much. Number 7. Horseradish, a sharp root that gives simple meals some flavor. Some cold season meals are very simple: boiled potatoes, eggs, cold meat, or a bowl of stewed beans. Those foods can keep people fed, but after eating them for days in a row, your mouth can get tired of the plain taste. That is when just one spoonful of horseradish is enough to bring the whole plate back to life. Horseradish is a sharp-tasting root. It is not a crop you grow for a lot of calories, but for making sauce to eat with meat, eggs, potatoes, sandwiches, or foods you have stored in the pantry. In a family that knows how to put food away, strong seasoning has its place too. I would plant horseradish from a piece of root in early spring or fall. Choose a sunny spot with loose soil that drains well, but do not put it in the middle of the main vegetable beds. I usually give it its own corner, the end of a fence line, or a large deep pot, because even one piece of root left behind can grow back. In late fall, dig up the large roots, wash them clean, peel them, then grate or grind them with vinegar to make sauce. Do that in a spot with good airflow, because the sharp smell can rush up into your eyes very strongly. After this sharp root, I want to take you to a plant fewer people know, but underground it has both starch and protein. Number 6. American Groundnut, a climbing vine with tubers that have starch and protein. American Groundnut is a name that can easily make people misunderstand. It is not a peanut. This is a perennial climbing vine native to North America, and the edible part is underground, forming small tubers connected to each other like a chain. With this plant, my mother would not first ask whether it had a pretty name. She would ask, once we dig it up, what can we cook with it? And American Groundnut answers that question pretty well. Its tubers have starch, along with some protein, and a mild nutty taste that is a little sweet. You can boil them, roast them, mash them, or add them to stews. In a garden that already has greens, fruit, and a few seasoning plants, a plant that adds filling tubers like that is very much worth making room for. But do not plant American Groundnut like a vegetable bush that just sits still. It is a climbing vine. Give it a fence, a low trellis, or an edge of the garden with moist soil where it can climb. I would not let it crawl through beds where I need to walk often. To start it, use seed tubers. Bury them about 7 to 8 centimeters deep, spaced around 30 centimeters apart. In the first season, water evenly, add a light layer of mulch, and give the plant time to settle in. When you harvest in late fall or early spring, dig gently, take some of the tubers and leave some behind for the next year. After these tubers underground, I want to take you to the berry row, where the food is softer and sweeter, but it also goes bad faster if you do not handle it in time. Number 5. Raspberry, a berry bush for soft fruit and summer jam jars. Do you have children at home? In my house, the raspberry row almost never makes it to the end of the day untouched. Children walk past and pick a few berries to pop in their mouths. I do not scold them. A good garden should also have a few things that teach children food does not only come from the store, but raspberries do not wait long after they ripen. The fruit is soft, bruises easily, and if you forget it out in the sun for half a day, it loses its good taste. So in my house, a basket of raspberries brought into the kitchen usually gets divided right away, some for eating fresh, some for making jam, some for baking, and the rest for the freezer. To grow raspberries, you need healthy canes or young plants. I like to put them in a row near a fence, where there is sun and a path on both sides for picking. The bushes have thorns, so do not squeeze them too close to a narrow walkway. After the fruiting season, cut out the canes that have already produced fruit and keep the healthy canes for the next season. Birds like raspberries too, so when the fruit starts turning red, do not think your family is the only one watching it. While the jam pot is still boiling, do not put the sugar and glass jars away too soon. The next plant also goes into jars for storage, but it does not grow as a low bush like raspberries. It needs a strong trellis first. Number 4. Concord grapes, a grapevine for juice, jelly, and jars to store AWA. When Concord grapes start to ripen, you often smell them before you can pick a whole basket. The grape scent is very clear, sweet, and deep, as if it is letting the whole kitchen know that today there will be a pot of juice or a batch of jelly on the stove. Concord grapes are not just for eating a few clusters out in the garden. If a family knows how to use them, they can become juice, jelly, sauce, or jars stored away for later days. That is why I like them in a perennial garden. They give fruit for many years, and that fruit fits very well in the pantry. But if you want good grapes, you have to give the plant a clear place to stand. Choose a sunny spot with soil that drains well, then build a strong trellis from the start. Do not let the vines crawl on the ground. As the plant grows, train the main trunk along the trellis and prune it every year. Otherwise, the plant will give you more leaves than fruit. When the fruit starts to soften and smell sweet, keep an eye on birds, bees, and clusters with split skins. Harvest at the right time and bring them into the kitchen early, and the grapes will not go to waste. So we have almost reached the end of the journey. Be patient a little longer, because the final 3 names do not just give you a few baskets of food. They can stand with your family for more years than you might think. Number 3. Apple tree. A tree for sauce, pies, cider, and the root cellar. I am pretty sure apples are one of the easiest fruits to eat, but a good apple tree does not just give you a few apples to eat fresh. It can go into sauce, pies, cider, dried apples, and even baskets of fruit to keep through the cold season. Apple harvest day in my house does not end at the basket. The apples get poured out on the table and sorted by type. The clean, firm ones are kept for fresh eating or stored in a cool place. The slightly bruised ones have the bad parts cut away so they can be cooked into sauce. The small ones can be pressed for cider. The nice slices get dried. To grow an apple tree, do not sow seeds and hope the tree gives you the exact kind of apple you like. Buy a good young tree, choose a variety that fits your area, and ask clearly whether it needs another pollinator tree nearby. I would put the tree in a sunny spot with soil that drains well and enough room to bring in a ladder for picking later. An apple tree needs pruning, fallen fruit picked up, and young trees protected from deer if you have them in your area. It does not pay you back right away, but once it is grown, every fall gives the kitchen something to do. When apples start falling, you know it is time to gather the baskets. The next name is different. You have to wait for the husk to dry, hear the nuts drop, and only then do you know fall has truly begun. Number 2. Walnut, a tree for rich nuts and long-term food. Some plants give you food after just a few months. Walnut is different. This is a tree that needs more time, needs more room, and does not fit someone who wants a fast harvest. So why do I still put it near the end of the list? Let me explain. Walnut gives you nuts rich in energy, fat, and protein. Soft fruit like berries or grapes has to be used quickly, while walnuts, if dried the right way, can be stored much longer. They can go into pies, baked dishes, breakfast, or you can simply crack the shell and eat the nut meat with bread. To grow walnut, choose a good young tree and a very wide spot with plenty of sun, deep soil, and good drainage. Do not put it close to the house, close to the main vegetable beds, or anywhere its large branches may later get in the way of a shed roof. If it is black walnut, ask carefully, because it can affect some plants growing nearby. When the nuts fall, pick them up early before the squirrels take your share. Remove the green husk, rinse them, then air dry or dry them thoroughly before storing. And now, there is only one final plant left. It is much smaller than walnut, but it can be used in everyday meals more often than you might think. Number 1. Winter onions, perennial green onions. You can use every day. I want to end this list with a small plant, because not everything that can help feed a family has to be big, rare, or hard to grow. Perennial green onions only need a corner of soil near the kitchen door, but they can still make their way into meals many times a week. You cut a few stalks for eggs, soup, potatoes, stewed beans, porridge, or leftovers from the day before. They do not fill you up like tubers or nuts, but they give you fresh flavor, that green smell, and make simple meals taste less plain. For a family that knows how to live frugally, that is not a small thing. With perennial green onions, I like to get a small clump from someone I know rather than buy a lot. Bring it home and put it in a sunny spot with soil that drains well, near a walkway or the kitchen door. When you need some, just cut the green leaves. Do not pull out the whole root, so the plant can grow back for the next meal, but do not leave just yet. Knowing the plant names is not enough. The final part is what helps you choose plants that fit your soil, fit your kitchen, and fit the way your family stores food for the next season. Things that help you choose the right perennial plants from the start, before you buy crowns, seed tubers, young plants, or a divided clump from a neighbor. Take a look at your own home first. This list is not something you should copy straight into your garden. A plant that grows well in Pennsylvania may not fit Florida, Texas, Arizona, a cold mountain area, or a place that stays rainy and humid all year. The first thing is climate. How cold does your winter get? How hot does your summer get? Does the soil drain well? Does that spot get enough sun? A perennial plant put in the wrong region will not feed your home. It will only disappoint you for longer. The second thing is where it will live. Asparagus needs a fixed bed. Sunchoke and horseradish need boundaries. Grapes need a trellis. An apple tree and a walnut tree need room for many years. Put an annual plant in the wrong place and you lose one season. Put a perennial plant in the wrong place and you may spend many years fixing it. The third thing is who will eat it before you do. Deer, birds, squirrels, groundhogs, or free-range chickens all know how to find food. Young plants need protection before you can call them a food source. And finally, think about the kitchen. Is that plant eaten fresh, cooked into sauce, made into jam, dried, put in the freezer, or stored down in the root cellar? If you do not have a way to use it after harvest, the season with the most food can also become the season with the most waste. People in the old days did not only ask how long a plant could live, they asked, will our family eat it? Does it fit our soil? And after we pick it, where will the food go? Before we finish, I want to hear from you. Out of these 10 names, which one have you already grown? Which one do you think does not fit your region? And if you have a perennial plant in your garden that I have not mentioned, do not keep it to yourself. Leave it in the comments, because sometimes the best knowledge is not in books. It is in a corner of someone's garden where they have been doing it for many years. I know some people will say these ways are old. Yes, they are old. But we Amish, and people back in our grandparents' time too, did not plant perennial crops because they wanted to follow a trend. They planted them because you cannot keep starting every season from zero forever. You may agree or disagree with this list. That is fine. Argue from real experience. What your soil is like, what your climate is like, what your family actually eats, and how you store your food.